All right, 5 benefits of quitting alcohol. That was the number 5, by the way, not me waving like a cave person. So the first one is improved sleep. The link between alcohol and disturbed REM sleep is well documented. So while alcohol might make you fall asleep quicker or pass out, really, it significantly disrupts the quality of your sleep, especially over time, like with continuous drinking. And obviously, the more you drink, the more pronounced this effect is. I won't go over all the details of that, but I'll put a link in the description to some web pages and studies about that. But yeah, definitely, when you stop drinking, your sleep improves massively. Also, before I stopped drinking, when I was drinking quite heavily, I had really bad sleep apnea, and I was a very loud snorer, and it was not very good for my ex-girlfriend, because I was like, she couldn't sleep. She had to sleep with earplugs, basically, because I snored so loudly. And partially weight loss helped with that, but also, that leads me to one of my next points anyway. Spoiler alert. But yeah, definitely it massively improved my sleep, and that's what the science says as well. It will greatly improve your sleep quality. Number 2, just being more in control. You'll be much more in control of yourself, so you don't have to worry about saying terrible things that you regret, doing stupid things, embarrassing yourself. Well, of course you do still, like those things can still happen, but you don't have to worry about them being caused by alcohol, and you're a lot less likely probably to do those things if you're not drinking. You're less likely to plow into a fucking 7-year-old who's on their bicycle in your car. You're less likely to get into a fight. You're less likely to say crazy things in front of people. You're less likely to make a fool of yourself or do things that you regret, I don't know, sleeping with people or whatever. There's a whole bunch of things that you're a lot less likely to do if you're not drinking, and you're just generally more sharp, more aware, more in control of yourself. And that might at first seem boring in comparison to the serotonin rush of drinking alcohol, but it's not. It's much better. It's much, much better to be in control of your own decisions and choices than it is to be drunk and to lose control of yourself just for a little sort of sensation in your brain that you're addicted to. It's not a worthwhile trade-off. 3 is weight loss. Again, well documented that not only are there generally a lot of calories contained within alcohol, and also that it's much more likely to promote unhealthy eating habits, but also there's some research that suggests that when you're drunk, when you've got alcohol in your system, while your body is still processing that alcohol, it can't process food correctly. So a lot more of your food is stored as fat rather than being used as energy in the moment, because your body is using the alcohol for energy or something. I don't know. I don't understand it exactly, but again, I'll link it in the description. But definitely, again, it's so much easier to keep weight off when you're not drinking. It's just much easier to be healthy in general, and obviously it's going to be much easier to go for a run or something like that if you're not hungover all the time or suffering from bad sleep. 4 is saving money. Here where I am in Spain, it's pretty cheap to drink alcohol. To be fair, you can get a bottle of wine for €1, but in most places it's very expensive, and the culture surrounding it is quite expensive anyway. And in England, in London, for example, it's ridiculously expensive. I don't know how anybody affords to go out drinking. It's crazy. And it's also time that you're not spending working or managing your finances or doing valuable, productive things, and instead well, I know obviously for a lot of people it's like fun as well. I'm not trying to like say that nobody should go out drinking or that it's like inherently and entirely a bad activity, but I'm just saying, like, if you compare it to other things you can be doing with that time, you're not going to make money by going out drinking unless maybe you're like networking for business reasons or something, but you don't even have to drink necessarily for that anyway. So yeah, it's a huge money saver for like most of the time for most people, in my opinion. 5, I think maybe for me the most well, I wouldn't say the most important one, there's not a most important one, but a very important one is that when you stop drinking, you're forced to address your problems rather than masking them with drink. So whether that's social anxiety, which was a big one for me, like obviously drinking appears to help with that. It never did. It just probably just alienated me even further because I just make such an arse out of myself all the time when I was drunk. But it alleviates the emotional response to social anxiety in the moment, gives you a false sense of confidence, and it's, in a lot of cultures, it seems to be completely central in that way as like a sort of social lubricant, like for like I think that's a pretty big thing in South Korea. They're pretty heavy on the booze out there, and I think a lot of the time, like, I watched a documentary about it and people were saying, like, we don't really speak to each other that much at work, and then we just go out and get drunk, and it's like it's the only way people can like come out of themselves. And I saw that in England a lot as well. A lot of people I knew, they didn't speak to their colleagues. They'd have very awkward, frosty relationships at work, and at the weekend they'd be like chatting all this crap to each other about how they like loved each other and stuff, and like how, like, just I don't know. It seems like it's probably better to be able to express yourself around people without like holding it in all week and then getting hammered and saying stupid shit that you don't mean. And also just generalized anxiety and depression, like, it's not a solution. It makes you in the long run more anxious and more depressed and totally dependent on it to sort of stave off the immediate effects of those emotions, but it doesn't help you deal with them at all. And stopping can be the first step to doing so. So yeah, I think a lot of people have problems that they're burying with alcohol, and they're not going away. The fact that you're burying them they're not gone. You still know they're there. You still feel them. They still have repercussions in your life, but you're just able to lie to yourself. But it's not like a particularly convincing lie most of the time. And if you can actually start to deal with those problems, then you might genuinely get better instead of just feeling better for like 2 hours for the first part of the night before the alcohol's gotten like boring or before you've blacked out or whatever else. So yeah, I think this is just 5 of the many reasons why it might be a good idea to quit drinking if you're considering it. Again, I know it's not essential for everybody. For a lot of people, alcohol's fine. In many cultures, it's not really problematic at all, and people just have like 1 or 2 glasses or whatever. But I think a lot of people, I think it goes without saying that a lot of people would benefit greatly from quitting. So if you're thinking about it and you're on the fence, then you should do it. And it's not as hard as you think. As long as you plan it carefully and do it well, then you'll be absolutely fine. And you'll probably have really great results from doing it. And just focus on the positives of quitting, rather than being hard on yourself. Just focus on all the good things that you might get out of the experience of quitting.